Hi, I'm Luann with Rockin Book Reviews, and I'm so pleased to be here today with Lauren Carr. Um, a few, probably 2 or 3 years ago, I was invited to a tour which I read one of her books, and I fell in love. She's a tremendous author. Um, Let me introduce her by reading a short bio. Lauren Carr is the international best-selling author of The Thorny Rose, Mac Faraday, Lovers in Crime, and her new series, Chris Matheson Cold Case Mysteries. She has over 20 titles across 4 fast-paced mystery series filled with twists and turns. Book reviewers and readers alike rave about local. I gotta start. I'm getting all tongue-tied. I had it set up so it would be easy to read, and now that I got this computer here, I got to resituate. One more time. My grandson's going to love me. Okay. Hi, I'm Luann Worley with Rockin Book Reviews, and I'm so pleased today to be with Lauren Carr, a wonderful new mystery writer that, anyhow, new to me. She actually has over 20 books that spans mystery, suspense, crime, police, procedures, romance, and humor. So it's a multi-genre book series that she writes. Lauren Carr is the best-selling author of Thorny Rose, Mac Faraday, Lovers in Crime, and her new series, Chris Matheson Cold Case Mysteries. Lauren is a popular speaker who has made many appearances in schools, youth groups, and on author panels at conventions. She lives with her husband, her son, and 2 spoiled, rotten German shepherds in the mountains in Harper's Ferry, West Virginia. Welcome.
Hello, Louie.
I was so excited when I actually got to join a tour of which I read one of your books, and I was hooked. And I read every book I could get my hands on since then that's written by you. And I've never been disappointed with any of them.
Oh, well, that's always great to hear. I always love to hear that.
So, I know it's kind of vague on the internet, but I'd like you to share with us a little bit about your life prior, mainly where you grew up, how many siblings you have, and so forth.
Well, I'm a West Virginia girl, born and raised, though I went by way of Washington, D.C. I'm a farm girl, which is why there's always so many animals in my books, because I grew up on a farm and always had dogs and cats around. And then, then I went to Washington, D.C., where I was an editor. I was the youngest of 4 children, and that's how I ended up becoming a writer, was because there was a great space of, like 4 years between me and my sister. And so they were off in school and doing that kind of stuff. And whenever I was home by myself, I had my mother. I wasn't by myself. I had my parents and that. But my big companion was my dog, Jinx. We had a boxer. But I just was always, from the time I can remember, making up stories, entertaining myself, making up adventures. I used to put a cape on our boxer, and we would pretend to be superheroes. So whenever I ended up in Washington, and I was an editor in Washington, the Eastern Panhandle, West Virginia, is considered part of the metropolitan Washington area. And so whenever my husband and I got married, I ended up back in West Virginia.
What did you do for
What I did for fun was basically reading. My mother would take me to the library every Friday. I remember that was something special that we shared because while my brothers and sisters would be in school, she would take me on until I started school. She just, it was I would escape into books. That was, they say you go on a great adventure in books, and that was what I would do. The other thing I do for fun is I love cooking. I am a gourmet cook, and I love trying different things. And you'll notice a lot of times I do have food in my books. They'll be talking while eating ice cream, or in Murder by Perfection. There's a scene where Tristan and Jessica are talking about her marriage to Murphy, because Murphy and Jessica had a fight, and they're doing it while eating ice cream. They're having this talk while doing ice cream. So food is a big thing for me, and I have to control that. Otherwise, I'll end up as big as a barn. But that was what I did. We would ride bikes as a kid. We would ride bikes, horseback riding. I love horseback riding, but I'm not allowed to ride horseback anymore because last time I rode, I got a concussion, and my husband has nixed that. But we did horseback riding, those type of things, fun type stuff.
Hey, reflect on your formative years, and when was the time of your youth that you just enjoyed being a kid?
I would have to, when I really enjoyed just being a kid was up until I was in my up until middle school. Back whenever I was in school, it was called junior high, because that was when that I was old enough. See, back whenever and now I'm dating myself. Back whenever I was a kid, kids could be kids. We could run around and just so long as you got back in time for dinner, that type of stuff. And that was what I really enjoyed. And I spent a lot of time by myself. Our nearest neighbor was a mile from where we lived. And I guess that's part of why I have such a very active imagination. My family would marvel at it, and especially my mother. But my mother was the one who encouraged that imagination. I was the kid who I had imaginary friends. I'll admit it. His name was Sam. I had this imaginary. Nowadays, Sam would be a ghost or a vampire, but he was just a kid. He was just an imaginary friend that I had. So I spent a lot of time, but I enjoyed my company. I don't want anyone to think that I spent a lot of time by myself and I was lonely, and that's probably why I'm warped and why I write murder mysteries, because people are always dying in my books. I enjoyed my youth. As a matter of fact, I still today, I enjoy being by myself. I enjoy my own company. I'm comfortable in my own skin. I'm not one to get lonely, because I think I'm a fun person by myself. I'm fun with myself. So that
I've met you.
Yeah. So well, thank you. So I would spend time. I would be climbing trees. I'd always have dogs with me, or the cats with me, or I'd even be out with cows. With the cows or with the horses. And I'd be making up adventures with pirates or Treasure Island or something like that, or Nancy Drew. Usually there was always a mystery of some sort, looking for the lost seashell or something like that. In my case, it'd be the dead body. That would be the type of stuff that I would do. And it wasn't until, and I would say it wasn't until I was in my teens, because my father died whenever I was 14, and that was when we left the farm. Because the farm belonged to my grandparents, and my mother got a job an hour away, and so I moved from a 40-acre farm into a mobile home park, And that was when it got a little miserable for me. Was, not because of a dysfunctional family, but I lost the 40 acres down to a little matchbox, and that was when things stopped being so much fun. Just simply because I didn't have that freedom that I did before. There was a big difference in the lifestyles to that.
We were in the same situation with our farm. We were quite a ways from any children, and I was a tomboy. But I'll date myself, I lived in a few years after the end of the Depression, where toys were still very scarce. It was hard to buy a pair of skates or a bicycle or anything because they just were really scarce. So I had my make-believe friends I had over 100 paper dolls, and I set them up throughout the house in their own rooms and everything. So I and make-believe friends.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, because that's when people try to squelch imagination, or they try to psychoanalyze imagination. And see, my mother encouraged it, and she saw that imagination, and she didn't get scared of it or anything. She encouraged it.
My mother laughed at it. I tried to get her to play paper dolls with me once, and she laughed.
Well, my mother enjoyed Sam. But see, I wasn't clever enough to blame him for the things that I would do. I would take responsibility for it.
Well, my brother was always a convincing fibber. I usually got in trouble for a lot of things I didn't do. So.
Wrongfully accused.
But anyhow, so you decided to become a writer early in life then?
Yeah, that was just always something that I remember always wanting to do, especially whenever I saw like The Odd Couple, or I remember particularly Neil Simon plays, because Neil Simon had he wrote a lot of autobiographical. His stuff was based on real, like The Odd Couple. He actually did have an odd roommate. And that was what I thought a writer's life was. I thought a writer's life would be a penthouse, and, I just spend the day, writing on my laptop, and quirky friends would come in and out, and I would make a living doing that. And that's what I thought it would. That's what I thought writing was. Yeah. So, I just live in a penthouse. That's what I envisioned. But now I have a great view. I wish the camera could pick up. I do have a great view of the valley. I'm on a mountaintop, side of a mountain, and I think these trees are more beautiful than the skyline in New York. And that, plus the skyline is really dirty. So, I'm kind of in a penthouse, and I have a quirky family and 2 quirky, spoiled, rotten German shepherds. So I like my life as it is now. I like it. It's better than the fantasy that I had.
Well, I prefer your type of penthouse too. So.
Yeah.
Okay, what was the most difficult part of becoming a published author?
Well, any writer will tell you it was the rejection. Whenever I first started, because I was working as an editor with the federal government, and they taught me layout design, and but I thought the type of writing that I wanted to do, because that was very frustrating, because what I wanted to do wasn't what I was doing. Granted, I was getting paid doing the editing and the layout and design. Little did I know that God was actually preparing me for where I am now. That those were skills that I needed to, because I self-publish my books. I do everything, and whatever I can't do, I contract out to do, like the cover design and the editing. Because I believe that you're your own worst editor. But what was very hard and what was very frustrating was up until we got to the point that we are now, where it's so easy to self-publish. And, you know, you weren't taken seriously unless you had a literary agent, which I did have a literary agent for a while. And that that was the frustrating period, was in the 90s and the early 2000s, because that was when I was really trying to get published. We didn't have the internet, so I would be sending out letters to literary agents and publishers. And I remember once I got a 2-page long rejection letter, and this was for A Small Case of Murder, my first book. And it was from a literary agent who, his clients actually appeared on Oprah. And I could tell by his letter, because it was 2 pages long, of all the things that were wonderful about A Small Case of Murder. You know, the characterization was great, the plot line was great, the writing was great, you know, you're really brilliant, and all this. Went on for 2 pages, and then on the last paragraph of the second page, you could tell he had read every single word. He had devoured this book. And the last paragraph, he said, "But I don't know how to market you." And that was his rejection of me. And I thought, well, why don't you market me as a brilliant writer? That's how you market me. Yeah. So, but it was those types of rejections. Just when I needed it, it was those type of rejections that would keep me going. That I would hold on to those. But that, you know, and it wasn't until, you know, and it wasn't actually, you know, until my third book that, you know, that I Murder My Son. I actually went through a year of writer's block after my father-in-law passed away, that I actually had this aha moment of, okay, you know editing, you know layout and design, here's create space, and, you know, really what I love is the writing. That's what I really love, is the writing part. I don't like dealing with literary agents and publishers, and actually, the more I get to know them, the less I respect them. So why not do this yourself? You have the skills. You know, sort of like $6 Million Man, we have the technology. You know, I have the technology. I have the skills. You know, why don't I do it myself? And It's Murder My Son was my most successful book. As a matter of fact, I had decided to do it myself, and I really, at that point, did not care about making money. I love the writing part. So just, you know, publish it myself, get it out there. If people like it, fine. If they don't, that's okay too. It's the writing part. And just whenever I made that decision, I heard back from a publisher who I had submitted it to before I made that decision, offering me a contract. And I sat on this fence for about 6 weeks, and then I decided, nah, I'm going to do it myself, because I've had it with publishers. And one of the things that was she wanted the ebook rights, and I had never, because this was just when people were starting to notice the ebooks, and I said to myself, no, you know, I can do ebooks myself. I've done all my other books. I'm making money with the ebooks. I'm not giving up the ebook rights. So that was the deal killer. And the first month I made $127 just from the ebook sales. And I realized, so I did the little math, I would have gotten maybe 27 of that 127 whenever I did all the ebooks myself. And I realized that was when I made the good decision. And I never looked back. I've gotten offers from traditional publishers and literary agents, and I've said, nope, I enjoy doing it myself, and so I can do it myself. So that was that, you know, that so all those hard times sort of brought me to that decision. You know, that's what's the big success is for me, is that I'm very content with where I am.
There is pros and cons to self-publishing. What would be some of the cons that you can think of?
Well, the cons that it is that you do have to do it yourself. It does take time away from the writing, and I have done work as a publisher. I've actually so I fell into that because I had other authors coming to me saying, "Well, since you can do your books, can you do mine?" And I did get into that for a few years. And the hard part is that it is time consuming. It is. But see, it's a good time consuming, and I enjoy it because I actually do have my own, you have quality control. You actually have more control over the quality of what you're putting out there. And I've actually been told by traditional publishers that, my books are beautiful, that they are well and professionally done. But it does take time away from, like, for example, and see, this is one of the things that whenever I was offered the traditional contract for It's Murder, My Son, I sat down and I did a list of everything that I had to do as a self-publisher, and everything that I'd have to do that I'd be responsible for if traditionally published. And the list was the same. Only they would take more of it. I'd stay, granted, they would have it edited. Well, I send my books out to be edited. In both cases, you have to promote the book. That's what a lot of people who don't know a lot about, because I have been traditionally published, they don't realize that, the publisher does not do the marketing for you. And you do have to get out there and beat the bushes, and you do have to get out there and do the social media. You've got to do all that. The traditional publishers aren't going to do it for you. I think one of the cons of self-publishing, I was like, everything I don't know, I learned. Everything I did not know, I went and learned. Most of what I've learned from mistakes I've made. I'm all about life. That's everything has been made by
are that way.
Yeah, it sticks with you. And so they, what people don't realize, who get into this, who get into publishing, who get into self-publishing, they don't realize, they think, well, if I get a traditional publisher, they'll do all this for me. They're going to do everything, and all I can do is just sit and write all day long. Yeah, that's what it looks like in the Neil Simon movies. That's what his authors are doing. But no, that's not the truth. You've got to, the first half of the day, I spend taking care of business. And it's all for my own books. I'm emailing people, I'm doing interviews, I'm doing social media. That's what I'm doing all day, for the first half of the day. And then the second half of the day, I spend actually writing, and you have to do that when you're traditionally published too. Another con is that, there are still some people who don't take independent authors seriously. They think that they're wannabes. And there are some who are just author wannabes. They sit around drinking a glass of wine saying, I'm an author. But they're not doing anything. They're not working at it. The ones who are serious, who are making money at it and getting sales, we're working at it. And we're taking care of business the first half of the day. But you have to do that whenever you're traditionally published anyway.
I've read many books actually, that are self-published, and I am appalled when I hear a lot of them have sent their books to be published by other people and they were rejected. And I thought, I could not understand that, because some of them were amazing authors. And but the thing I find the most about the self-published that I've read is a lot of them, like you say, do not take the time with their cover and so forth. And yours is always beautiful.
Oh, thank you. That's Todd in Seattle, Washington.
But it's important, because there's a lot of, like me, I'm a a browser. I go through and if I see a picture on and a title that catches my eye, then I pick it up and see what it's about. And I find that there's quite a few of us around, and so if you're careless with your cover and it just isn't nice looking, you're going to lose a lot of readers, and I find that to be the biggest problem that I've been associated with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've seen covers where they've done it themselves. They've known very little about it. And I'll admit, my first two books, I redid the cover after It's Murder, My Son came out, because I came to realize that, and I've redone the covers on those books. But the original covers were covers that I said what I wanted. The cover designer she'd never done a book cover before. She was a graphic artist that I knew. And I told her, what I wanted on the cover. And I made some major mistakes on those covers. And it was because I didn't know what I was doing. Like I said, I learned from mistakes, and so now I know, what to do on them.
I'm a little bit picky too, because if someone describes their main character as blonde and blue-eyed and so forth, and the cover on the picture has got brown hair, it's like, no, this doesn't fit in the story. So.
Well, and my latest book, Murder by Perfection, I had that in mind. That's exactly what happened, was that the cover, because I generally do not put characters on my covers, because I let people's imaginations, people ask me who would be Mac Faraday, who would be Murphy Thornton, and I don't, what actor, and I have different people. They're real people in my head, and there's no actor who can match them. It's very hard to find someone like that. But with the cover of Murder by Perfection, it was just crying for a person to be on the cover. And so the character who got killed, Natalie Stepford, she was a brunette in the first draft of my book. But whenever Todd sent the cover, she was a blonde, because he doesn't read the cover. He doesn't read the book. So he didn't know. But that woman on the cover is perfect. So I went back to the book and I changed her to a blonde. So
that solved the problem.
I had to match that cover because I didn't want him to change it. The cover just wouldn't have been as good with a brunette.
Like this one. You got your canceled vows and you got your bridal and everything. It fits.
That's one of my favorite covers.
It's really not, and most of your books are like that. Even though they don't have people, they have the content of the story. So
yeah, I learned, and that was the mistake I was making with my first two books. I was trying to tell the story with the cover. And so I would have all these elements on there that, to like you browsing, would not know what any of that stuff meant. So you would think it was just a bunch of junk on a cover. To me, it meant something, but you'd have to read the book to find out what that stuff meant, and and there are, that's a newbie mistake. That's really is literally a newbie mistake. So,
but it's.
Yeah, and I have one of my...
That little teaser, though, you need something to draw them in.
To draw them in.
Okay, tell us about your new series.
My new series is the Chris Matheson Cold Case Mysteries. Chris Matheson is a retired FBI agent. And this series takes place here where I live in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, in the tri-state area, or is it quarter state? We have West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Maryland. It's a four-state area. And he is, but he's a young retiree. He's 46, 47 years old. working with the federal government. If you go, like, go right out of high school into the military, you can get your 25 years in by your mid 40s. And that was his case. So he's a young retiree. He's middle aged. We'll say he's young. And he's got 3 little girls. His wife was killed in Nice on Bastille Day in that horrible terrorist attack. But he has always been suspected back home in Charlestown, Harpers Ferry area of the disappearance of a young girl who, at 18, she was pregnant, and she claimed that he was the father, but he wasn't the father. He had nothing to do with that. He took her to prom. He just took her to prom. But he was cleared of it, but his father was the police captain with the state police, and so a lot of people believe that he had something to do with it, and that but a lot of people had thought that his father had covered up for him. So now, 25 years later, he returns home, a widower with 3 little girls. His father had passed away, and he moves in with his mother. She's helping with the little girls, and he's taking care of the family farm. But he comes to realize that there are people who still think that he had something to do with this cold case, this disappearance. So his mother convinces him to, she wants him out of the house. She wants him to socialize more. So she convinces him to join a book club, his book club that his father had started. And everyone in the book club is law enforcement, retired law enforcement. And so he goes thinking that it's a book club, but really they are a cold case squad, which his mother doesn't know. They call themselves the Geezer Squad. Number 1 rule of the Geezer Squad is you never talk about the Geezer Squad. And so, are you remembering the book?
I do.
so he
fantastic story.
Yeah. So this cold case, the cold case squad, they do this on the slide because they all have family and who do not want them. They're retired for a reason. Their family doesn't want them doing law enforcement, so they pretend to be a book club, but really they're a cold case squad. And even Chris' mother, who is the library director, is not aware that that's what this book club does. And so they embark to solve this cold case for Christopher. But number 1 rule is you never talk about the cold case squad. And every book in this series, they are going to be talking about. I'm going to address every member of the cold case squad. So Christopher is going to be the anchor, but we're going to go from to different members, because what they do is they investigate the cases that keep them up at night. So it's a wonderful book. I had a lot of fun writing that. They're wonderful characters.
That's one thing I'm impressed with your books, because some authors, they say you could be read as a standalone, but if you do, you're totally lost. Your books, I was able to pick right up on it, and then I figured, once I decided I really liked the book, then I went back and read a couple of the previous ones. But it was definitely a standalone. Another thing I like about your writing is, even though you don't have explicit sex scenes or anything, you can still stir that emotion and that closeness, that intimacy, without actually having to be any foul language or explicit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the way I describe it is I close the door. I get to that point that then I close the door. And I go by my own comfort level. I have had quite a few clean reads. They call themselves clean reads, bloggers and reviewers who've endorsed my books. And I didn't set out to do that. And I don't consider myself a prude, but I go by my own comfort level. And if I start to feel uncomfortable, then I will pull back, and I don't like reading other stuff that's uncomfortable with that.
One thing I try to do is, even if you want to make a statement that something doesn't fit into the category or whatever you feel they should, that should be done in the actual review, but not.
Yeah.
And, the rating should be on, on the author's credit as an author, not opinions. So to me, a reviewer isn't a reviewer if they don't rate according to the talent and ability of the person that they're rating. But anyhow, what other big projects have you gotten?
But the next book is Crimes Past, and that's a cold case mystery too. And it is Mac Faraday, and Gnarly is still mayor. Gnarly's basically going to be mayor for life in Spencer. Anyone who read Candidate for Murder, that's where he got elected mayor. But in this case, Mac is actually looking at a cold case of a double homicide that he was investigating back 17 years ago. When he was with the police department in Washington, D.C. And that was double homicide of two detectives on their wedding night in a hotel filled with police who were guests at the wedding, and they are murdered. And Mac was the one detective. He had opted not to go to the wedding. He had worked that night so that all of his friends could go. And the bride was his protege, was a protege of his. So he is, he never solved that case. And now 17 years later, the bride's daughter, from a previous relationship, she's now a police officer, and she's getting married at the Spencer Inn. And one of the guests brags to Mac that he has solved this double case. He knows who did this murder, and he ends up killed at the Spencer Inn. So Mac is reopening that cold case and solving the current murder case. And that is all at the Spencer Inn. Spencer Inn you don't want to go to if you don't, unless you want to get killed. End up in a murder.
That reminds me, on Two for Murder, the two, the Max Faraday and
the 30 Rose and the Lovers in Crime. Yeah, I had all of them.
More or less together. Are you going to do that with this next series?
With the next book, no, I'm not going to do it with the next book. It could probably happen later on, because I am going to have a book after that. I don't think I'm going to do. I think what I'll do is I will bring in bring in all the characters for a mystery occasionally, but I'm not going to have the two cases going on simultaneously in different areas, two total different ones. That was a special, the Two for Murder. That was really special because I had the guys and the girls going in two separate directions.
I love that.
You love that. But I think I am going to have, later on, I have planned where JJ gets married to Poppy. There's no spoilers there because, but I'm going to have JJ getting married, so that's an occasion that I just have to have everyone together for that. I'm still kind of up in the air whether or not Mac's going to go to that wedding. Because I know Jessica will be there. And I'm kind of working on the mystery for that, but I want to get Crimes Past done. That release date is going to be October 4th because I'm going to go to the Inscribe convention in Burbank, California on October 4th. So I'm timing the release of Crimes Past. The next Mac Faraday is going to be released on that date.
Pretty great.
Yeah.
Okay, and kid, tell us a little quirk you have that most people aren't aware of.
I love chocolate.
Come on, better than that.
Rather than-
I don't like chocolate. Most people.
well, some people would call it a quirk. Some people would definitely call it a quirk. Is that I'm a recluse. I'm a recluse wannabe. I know. I really want to be a recluse. Like I had said at the beginning of our interview, I really enjoy my own company, and and up where we live, we are kind of up high with really bad weather. We end up. I would get snowed in. Once in the 90s, and this was in the 90s, it was before I had my son. I was actually up on this mountain for 6 weeks and did not come down. And I was not one bit upset. I was totally content. And I guess some people would call that a quirk because I could make a really good recluse. It isn't that I don't like people. It's just that I'm happy being closed up. I'm happy, in my own home, and so I'm very pleased with that. My husband does the grocery shopping. And there are times when I only go out on Sunday to go to church, that's, and some people would call that a quirk. Yeah. Some people would call it downright weird. but that's kind of my quirk. Is that I'm happy.
My husband's that way, except he likes to get out with like a friend, off and on. But he's just really happy just being with himself, by himself at home.
Mm-hmm.
So I can understand that.
Oh, okay.
But I personally spent so much time alone growing up that I
did too, and I sometimes miss that.
You got any final words to say before we?
Oh well, just keep on, loving murder mysteries and reading my books. Read the any Lauren Carr books. They are all available on Amazon. I am branching out in that because people have suggested that I branch out more, so that more of my books I'm sort of migrating my titles over into Apple, the iBook store, and Smashwords. I have some of them there. I'm just going to gradually do that over time. But my newest release is Murder by Perfection. That's the latest Thorny Rose Mysteries, and that is a lot of my books are available with Kindle Unlimited. They're all available in audio. Right now, production is working with Murder by Perfection, but they're all available in audiobook and ebook and print, and anywhere you want them, you can get them. And I love hearing from readers.
There's no reason for our listeners not to get one.
Yeah, so there's no reason not to get one.
Okay, thank you so much. You've been a delight.
Okay, well, I was glad we were finally able to do this. Nice to meet you, Luann.
No problem.
Okay.
And this is Luann signing off and saying we hope you explore the universe through books. Goodbye.
Goodbye.